From the Arizona Daily Star and Tucson.com, this is the Wildcast.
Thanks for listening to the Wildcast podcast. I'm Justin Spears here with Micah Lev. Subscribe, rate, and comment the Wildcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and also download the Wildcaster mobile app off the App Store and Google Play. And if you want all the bells and whistles that come with that app, you can also subscribe to Tucson.com, where you get this guy's work, Michael Lev.
Yeah, you know, we also have like a general news app that's really like we updated it recently, streamlined it, works really well. I've been looking at some of our stories on there. I've been looking at like some of our colleague Ellie Wolf's stories about the U of A financial situation on that app. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend, of course, getting a digital subscription. I mean, they're super cheap. Deals. It's a great deal. If you love U of A sports or you care about the Tucson community, you got to have it.
Got to have it, man. And especially, you mentioned Ellie's coverage of the University of Arizona financial crisis. Real quick, thoughts on that? Because Robert Robbins came out on Wednesday and said that the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, resigned after the $400 million miscalculation. He also mentioned that athletics could be affected by it. We could see layoffs in the athletic department. Will it affect coaching contracts? No.
I mean, he didn't say there were no mentions in his little presentation yesterday about any specific cuts to sports.
Yeah.
Even though that had been the narrative heading into it. There was mention of a compensation freeze, which I guess means no raises, but I don't think that's going to impact the football staff.
No.
I also don't think it's going to impact the basketball staff when Tommy Lloyd's contract comes up. I believe in April or May or whenever that is.
Yeah.
After he has another amazing year, he's going to be in line for a raise too.
Yep.
And if you want to have great sports programs, you need to have great coaches and infrastructure and support, and all of that costs money. And what do you think, Justin? I mean, am I wrong about this?
No, not at all.
And isn't this what people want?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The front porch, right?
Yeah.
Like they want the light on and the door to be open to over there at the front porch.
Well, and Robbins understands that sports is a big moneymaker at the University of Arizona, and he wants that to continue to be at the forefront of everything. Robbins is all about academics, the university as a whole, but he's also a very sports savvy person. I mean, we've often compared him. He's kind of like a Jerry Jones-like figure. He is the president of this whole thing.
He needs to give press conferences after all the football games now, like Jerry Jones does.
I think he does. But this won't affect coaching contracts, and Robbins understands that he's got a really good thing going between the football program and the men's basketball program. If your two moneymakers are among the best in the country, then you've got really good problems. And I think Arizona, moving forward, if they can keep Jed Fish and his staff happy, if they can keep Tommy Lloyd and his staff happy, they can really put together quite a run here over the next several years as they settle into the Big 12.
Yeah, I think there's only, 5 programs in the country that are in the top 25 in both men's basketball and football, something like that.
Yeah.
Arizona, number 1 in men's basketball, number 14 in football in the final CFP poll, with a chance to move up in the final AP poll if they win. Really incredible. But like I said, I mean, that costs money.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know that, like, in our mailbag questions that we'll get into later on, I think someone asked about, like, what's going on with Jed Fish's contract. I think that Robbins has bigger fish to fry right now. The university, they have bigger fish to fry right now. But at some point, you got to extend fish because, NFL jobs are going to start opening up. I've seen reports about Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots possibly parting ways after this season. Jed was the quarterback's coach there. Maybe the Patriots look at him. I only view the NFL as a serious threat. But then again, you see the coaching staff, they're at a Clippers game. They're promoting Arizona as a brand. Like, I think Jedd Fisch really likes it here in Tucson, and he wants to really see this thing all the way through. And but at the end of the day, time's ticking for Arizona. At some point, you got to pay Jedd Fisch and his staff.
I think they'll get it done within the next month or so, maybe sometime after the bowl game.
Yeah,
you roll out that news. I don't think that in the midst of this quote unquote financial crisis was the time to do it.
Yeah,
that would have been, the optics would not have been good. At some point in time, we need to ask Jedd Fisch, whether that's in a press conference setting or one-on-one or whatever, like, what do you want long-term career-wise? Because he's got a good thing going here, and he's at a place where the pressure isn't as great as it would be at any NFL job that you have, or at the University of Florida, for example, his alma mater, which is a job that could come open a year from now if things don't go well for Billy Napier, though they do have a big-time recruiting class coming in, and there's lots of optimism, but they also have a really daunting schedule.
Yep.
So you can go 8-4. If you go 8-4 here every year, like they name a stadium after you, build a statue in your honor, etc. You go 8-4 every year at Florida, you're only going to last 3 years, maybe, before they're looking for the next guy. Maybe the expanded playoff will help, a little bit. Make a 9-3. You can still get in the playoff, and you can kind of hold that up. But there's a different level of pressure at a lot of these places, and especially in the NFL.
Yep.
Like, not for long, right? Isn't that what a lot of people say the NFL stands for?
Yep.
That applies to coaches too, not just players.
Absolutely. Before we get to mailbag questions,
and picks. This is a mega podcast.
Megapod. Yeah, we got plenty to cover over the next several minutes. But Arizona basketball, big one on Saturday. And you were also at the women's basketball game against Texas.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that Adia Barnes and Tommy Lloyd, they're embracing difficult opponents in non-conference play. A big one on Saturday for the men's team, currently number one in the country. I thought they were going to be the unanimous number one team, but one AP voter did not pick them. Instead, they put Arizona at number 2 behind Houston. But the Wildcats are number 1. They're playing against Purdue. I'm super, super excited about the matchup between Umar Ballo and Zach Edey. I think this is a battle between two of some of the best centers in college basketball, and it's going to be kind of like an old school game with two giant big men who are really good going toe to toe. And it's going to be Indianapolis, so it's not at Purdue, but it's in Purdue's backyard. So I would imagine there are probably going to be more Boilermaker fans there, but Arizona fans do travel well. And it's in the place that TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin play in. So I'm excited for this game. What about you, Lev?
Well, as you know, I'm sure everyone knows, Purdue has one loss this year, and it came against Northwestern.
Who lost to Chicago State.
My school, which lost to Chicago State last night.
Lost a bye game.
A bye game against a 3-9 team. I didn't even know this, but Chicago State is the only independent in Division I men's basketball. What a freaking disaster.
Shout out.
I don't know. Maybe Purdue's not that good. They lose to Northwestern, and Northwestern loses to Chicago State. I've seen a lot of people today saying that the Big Ten is not good at basketball.
Indiana,
which
did they lose recently? I thought they got killed recently. Obviously, Wisconsin got killed by Arizona.
I mean, we know that that in football, the Big Ten is very top heavy, right? Yeah. But I am looking here at some overall records at some of the traditional powers, and Michigan State is 4-5. Iowa is 5-5. Michigan is 5-5. That does not bode well for the league this year. Northwestern's 7-2, but now has a loss to Chicago State on its resume.
Yeah.
The only teams besides Purdue that are ranked are Illinois, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. Those 3 are all in the bottom 10 of the top 25.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Purdue might very well be the best that the conference has to offer. They obviously have the returning player of the year. I think pace will be a big factor in that game. I think if Arizona gets into kind of a half-court grind kind of a game that's not to their benefit.
No.
You know, they want to get stops, get out and run a little bit, out in transition. I think you can negate Edie's effectiveness a little bit that way.
Well, that's certainly how they got out into a run against Wisconsin at the end of that first half there, because Wisconsin kind of took it to Arizona at first and was playing physical a little bit, and you thought, okay, maybe Wisconsin is going to make this a game, and they're going to make it their style of game as much as possible. And then Arizona started getting steals, and Wisconsin didn't shoot the ball well. And
so many dunks.
Yeah.
So many dunks in that game.
And a lot of backdoor cuts. Like, you look at Arizona and how they play under Tommy Lloyd, and, you know, people compare it to Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors. But the Warriors, they have three-point shooters with Steph. Well, I don't know. The Golden State Warriors are kind of on a downfall right now. But the Golden State Warriors are a prominent three-point shooting team, where I look at Arizona, and they do very well around the basket. A lot of backdoor cuts and playing very fast.
Greg Gard, the coach of Wisconsin, I think he said it best about Arizona. They play fast, but they also have size.
Yeah.
That's kind of the killer combination. And you've seen it a million times. Like, they're big men. They did this a ton with Tubelis last year, and now Ballo does it, and Krivas is learning how to do it. The big men run the floor, and they get that early post up,
yeah,
you know, or that seal down there, and it's like an easy basket over and over and over again. I'd make Edie run, man. I mean, Arizona's got 2 7-footers.
Yeah.
So make him run, make him work on the defensive end. Try to tire him out.
Yeah.
Maybe get him in foul trouble. Foul trouble was a big theme for women's team last night.
Yeah.
Brea Cunningham, the freshman center, who's a really good player, she had 2 fouls in the first 36 seconds of the game.
Wow.
And you're going into that game already. Maya Nagy, for those who haven't heard, has elected to step away from basketball to focus on academics. She's aspiring to become a doctor. Huge loss for that team.
Huge.
Big blow. She's a 6-foot-plus, interior player. So they were already at 10 players. Now they're at 9 players, and then one of the really good ones is out for the entire first half after 36 seconds. So It's kind of miraculous that they were even in the game. They were not super competitive in the second and third quarters. They made a run late in the fourth, but I don't know, kind of a rebuilding year, I think, for women's basketball. I am actually writing about that today, and we'll be finishing that column after we do the podcast.
A lot of people are a little concerned right now because of the depth and also Maya Nagy stepping away.
There's been a lot of transfers out.
Yeah.
Of really good players. I mean, have you seen Maddie Connor's numbers
at TCU?
Yeah, she's
putting up good numbers.
She leads the nation in 3-pointers.
They could use some of that right now.
They could use someone like that. I mean, she's making 5.2 3-pointers per game. Second place, Caitlin Clark, 4.3. I think most people know who Caitlin Clark is. So someone like that definitely would have been helpful to have. I don't know what all went down with that, but that has been a concern.
Yeah,
and I think this next offseason is critical. We talk all the time in football these days about player retention. This is an offseason where the women's basketball needs to have good player retention. Like this core that she has put in place that Adia Barnes likes and is developing, those kids need to stay around. Or else then I think the alarm bells go off.
Before we transition, a huge shout out to Esmery Martinez. The only active player with it's 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 200 assists.
Assists?
Yes.
Okay, there was a third stat in there, but yeah, she's
one since Sabrina Ionescu.
She's a warrior. I mean, I don't think she's 100% healthy. Just watching her run up and down the court, but she's giving her all.
Absolutely.
Out there for her team.
Lev, officially 2 weeks away from the Arizona
Bowl how about
game.
That?
Officially 2 weeks away. Arizona will take on Oklahoma in the Valero Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. Jetfish it ain't his first time coaching in the Alamo Dome. He was a part of the Houston Texans staff when they played against the Dallas Cowboys in 2003 preseason. So this is...
we all remember that game. Yeah.
It was 30 I actually looked up the score of that game. The Cowboys killed the Texans in preseason. So this is Jed Fish's second time coaching in there. Sio Nafo-Gototoa, Arizona's backup defensive tackle. He also played in All-American bowl game there.
Okay.
So there's some connections to San Antonio, but the Wildcats are officially 2 weeks out from the bowl game. Lev, thoughts on this game real quick, because I think since the last time we've done a podcast, Dylan Gabriel announced that he's committing to Oregon. He's a big fan of Marcus Mariota. That had a big influence on his decision. And then Oklahoma, they're going to be without two of their starting offensive linemen. Trent Guyton, their tackle, and center, I think it's Andrew Rame. They both declared they're preparing for the NFL draft. They're doing the Jordan Morgan route. So,
yeah, one of the themes that Brent Venables discussed during the Alamo Bowl press conference a week or so ago was how they strove this past offseason to improve their competitive depth. I think that was the term that he used, right? So that competitive depth is going to be put to the test in a major way in that game. That will definitely be a theme throughout the bowl season and the bowl picks that we'll make later on in the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Who you got? Who's left?
Yeah.
What do those second stringers look like who are suddenly being thrust into first string roles? Jackson Arnold is a source of great curiosity. His big time recruit coming in there for Oklahoma, who's going to be starting for the first time. So that's a big change. And who knows what you'll get? He could be phenomenal. He could be terrible. He could be somewhere in between, going up against an Arizona defense that's in a pretty good place right now. A really good groove, confident.
No opt-outs for them.
Playing well.
They're going to be fully healthy.
No opt-outs on that side. There's a few players in the transfer portal, but none of them were starters.
Yeah.
Or played prominent roles. There's a few guys that we're still not sure about for this game. We know Jordan Morgan is not going to play, so we don't know. Is it going to be? Is Raymond Polito going to move over to left tackle, which we think is his future position anyway, or maybe did they plug Sam Longy in there for one game? TBD. We'll ask Jed Fish next week what the situation is over there. And then you've got your Michael Wiley. The running back room was banged up.
Yeah.
In the Territorial Cup, Wiley was healthy, but Jonah Coleman got hurt. DJ Williams didn't play, so we don't know exactly what that'll look like. We think Jacob Cowing is going to play in this game. I'm pretty sure he will. Though, as I wrote in the piece that I put out there this week about Jordan Morgan, I don't think Wiley and Jacob Cowing are in the same situation as Jordan Morgan. Like, he is a fringe first rounder, at worst a second rounder. Yep. Those guys are probably third day.
Yeah.
So they still have a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Now there are some guys, and this is one of our bowl games that is on our list, who opt out for reasons that I just cannot be explained. Like Sam Hartman of Notre Dame. Like, why aren't you playing in the bowl game, dude?
Yeah.
Like, where are you going?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to launch your modeling career.
He is a handsome
off
guy.
The bat here, he's very good looking. Yes, but that doesn't mean you make good decisions. So
yeah,
I don't get that one. Maybe because his star offensive tackle Joe Alt is also opting out.
Business decision.
I mean, Joe Alt is supposed to be a top 10 pick, so
yeah,
that one I get. Sam Hartman, I don't get it.
Yeah. All right, you want to answer some mailbag questions?
Let's do that.
All right. Yeah. So this one comes in from Jeff Gallego. Predict 2024 football record for Arizona. That's really tough to pick. I look at Arizona's schedule for next season, Lev, and they got 2 games in Utah. They got to play at BYU and also at Utah, which is going to be a pretty tough challenge, I would say. And then you got to play Texas Tech at home as well. You also have Kansas State as well on the schedule, I believe.
On the road.
But it's favorable for Arizona because when you think about how many guys they have coming back next season, the superstar sophomores / redshirt freshmen who are killing it this year, they all got to come back next year. I don't imagine these guys entering the transfer portal. They're all going to run it back one more time. And then you add in some other talented freshmen you have coming in, or guys who are already on the roster as freshmen, and then you just kind of be very selective with the transfer portal. Arizona's in a really good spot right now because they don't have to just kind of cast this wide net in the transfer portal and get as many guys as possible. Like, they can really pick and choose which guys they want to bring into the program right now. So I think Arizona's in really, really good shape for 2024. But if we're talking about a 12-game season, yeah, I mean, I could see Arizona going 9-3 once again, maybe even 10-2.
So I think that they can and need to sweep the home conference games. That would be in no particular order, or alphabetical order, or whatever order they're listed here. Arizona State, Colorado, Texas Tech, Houston, and West Virginia. Those are all winnable games.
For sure.
They went, they have only one loss at home this year.
Yep.
Against Washington. So I think they need to go undefeated in those games. The road conference games are tough. BYU, Utah. I don't know how they ended up going to both BYU and Utah in the same year. That doesn't really seem fair. Also TCU and UCF. So let's say 2-2. Okay. Then you're looking at the non-con games, right? One of them is at Kansas State. What are the other non-con games that we're looking at next year?
I believe NAU is one of them.
NAU. Okay. If that's the case, we'll mark that down as a W.
Is UTEP one? Do they got to play at UTEP? We got to look into the 2024 schedule because I believe that they have a very easy non-conference schedule. And is Kansas State still going to be a non-conference game because they're going to be Big 12 opponents?
It is a non-conference game.
Okay.
That to me is maybe like the pivotal game. If you're looking at that line of 10-2 versus 9-3, and maybe that's the line to get into the playoff next year, right? The teams that are just ahead of them this year are 10-2. Those Penn State, Oklahoma, Mississippi, these are the teams that that would be in the playoff, the 12-team playoff if it existed this year. So I really think that Kansas State, a game that they sort of, maybe tried to get rid of, that could be the pivot point.
Yeah.
And that's really tough. Yeah, their non-con is New Mexico and NAU are the other ones. So they should win both of those.
Yeah, handily.
And like I said, if they go 5-0 at home in the conference games, 2-2 on the road, it comes down to Kansas State. That's going to be a tough one. That one's in Manhattan, Kansas on September 14th.
All right, this one comes in from Tyler Cole at Arizona Wildbags. What, if any, are some weaknesses you think the basketball team has?
You say Wild Bags?
Yeah, Wild Bags. I don't see any weaknesses with this year's Arizona team. They struggled from the free throw line against Wisconsin, but that was kind of a one-off thing. Pelle Larsson's normally a pretty good shooter from the pinstripe.
I guess that one thing I would say is I don't think they're a great three-point shooting team. Not amazing.
But they don't need to.
But they don't. They don't need to be because they have an offense where, as you mentioned earlier, they get a lot of backdoor baskets. They can throw the ball into the post. They can run screen and roll. They can score in transition. They have a lot of different ways they can score. Yeah. They are not, and to me, they're not an elite three-point shooting team. And sometimes that can come back to bite you. But they have like a plan B, a plan C, a plan D on offense. So they're not a team that has to rely on that to score. So I don't think it'll be a huge issue for them. I think that the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team, depth.
Yeah.
They don't even play like those 9, 10, 11 guys that much.
Yeah.
And I think Moroskis
is
pretty good. He might be the best 3-point shooter on the team. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if they give him a chance. He barely plays.
Yeah.
I call him who the heck is this guy? if you haven't played against Arizona and then all of a sudden they bring that guy off the bench, right?
Yeah.
You're like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
I'm like, huh?
I say that whenever I see all of Arizona's walk-ons because they got so many of them. And I feel like every time I turn on an Arizona basketball game and I see the bench mob celebrating on the side, I'm like, I don't know any of those guys. Normally, like I used to be able to name every single walk-on, and I'm like, I don't know these guys. There's a lot of guys.
Now you're the full-time football beat writer. This is what happens, Justin. You've lost your attachment to basketball.
Arizona hoops.
Yeah.
You got any mailbag questions?
I do have a handful. Okay. Yeah. So give me 1 sec here.
I'll bring up another one while you bring that up.
Yeah.
So this one comes in from AZ Cats Go, and AZ Cats Go asks, who is the most likely player to get poached, a la Dorian Singer? Honestly, I don't know.
We're a week in here, right? More than a week. I think 10 days into the portal, and no one of that ilk has entered as of yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Jed was really confident talking about it when the last time we spoke to him.
I also think it's a good thing that Arizona is playing their bowl games so late into all of this. Like, they're playing on December 28th because now your more prominent players, like, they want to be locked in for the bowl game, and it could potentially improve their, I guess, portal stock if they decide to go. But if T-Mac was going to go take a bigger check somewhere else, I think he would have gone already. And he's also got his buddy Noah Fafita here. All of his friends are here. And like Jed Fish has said several times, and I think I first heard this on the Move the Sticks podcast, he says, players want to look at other schools as an opportunity to make more money. But if you're great 1 year, why not be great again and then go to the NFL? You jump ship for this 1 year opportunity to make money when you can stick around here, be a part of a coaching staff that has been in the NFL and has coached in the NFL and knows what it takes to get to the NFL and make that 10-year investment. And that's Jed Fish's plan. I think that's what's able to keep all the T-Max and a lot of these great players that could go elsewhere.
So that is a good segue into the next question that we have here. And this comes from Marco at not the fake Marco, which is kind of hilarious. There's like a lot of Marcos
not the fake
out
SVP.
There. Yeah, except it's just Marco. Marco asks, is there a non-zero chance where JDL stays next year and backs up Fafita? JDL, of course, is Jaden DeLora. He started the year as the starting quarterback, got hurt. No Fafita replaced him. Wally pipped him, to be sure. Jaden has not entered the portal. I think I saw in Instagram stories that he was like maybe up at the Suns game with Noah and T-Mac and some of those guys hanging out. I would say, yeah, there's a non-zero chance that this happens. But here's the problem. You end up with this logjam, right? Do you want to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks who all want to play on your team at one time?
Because Damon Williams is coming in.
Yeah, and Braden Dorman's already here. So I don't know. It's similar to Jed, where I kind of want to ask him, what do you want to do? I'd like to ask Jaden, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you really, are you desperate to play somewhere? If so, he will enter the portal at some point. Maybe that's the spring period.
Yeah.
Now, there is that court ruling that happened a couple days ago where I guess if you really wanted to be a second-time transfer and play immediately, you could do that. It could be undone by the courts in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But there were some people who were like, hey, this is an opportunity for Jaden to go in right now. He doesn't have to have graduated. He'd be eligible to play, but that's a risk.
Yeah.
You don't know. And I also don't know his academic timeline. If he's graduating in May, he could go into the portal after after spring ball. What do you think he's going to do?
Because this is his 4th year playing college football. He's been
correct.
He's been playing since the truncated 2020 season, and so I would imagine that he's close to graduating, or maybe he's already graduated. Maybe this semester is when he graduates. We got to figure out his academic timeline, but I think this new court ruling will allow Jaden to enter the portal, and maybe he goes to a Mountain West school. Because, I mean, Jayden de Laura is a good quarterback. Does he have some flaws in his game? Sure. Sometimes he drifts a little too far back in the pocket. Sometimes he tries to play hero ball and makes the risky throws. But we've also seen Jayden de Laura play some really good football too. I think about him using his legs at Mississippi State, and it gave Arizona a really good chance late in that game, and he also made some good throws. So, yes, I think Noah Fafita is the better quarterback in the offense right now, but Jayden is going to be a starting quarterback somewhere next year. Maybe he goes to Hawaii and plays for Timmy Chang. I don't know, but I think Jayden's got a future in college football, wherever that is.
Yeah. Again, what do you want to do? You know, do you want to go start somewhere, or do you just want to kind of continue to do what you're doing here and play a supportive role?
Like, does he want to coach? And if he wants to coach, maybe you hang around the program and learn from Jed Fish. Maybe take the Gunner Cruise route and just hang around the program. I don't know.
Yeah, Yavapai Duke, who's one of our frequent commenters at AZ4Duke, says, I read that the Oregon-bound player from Salpointe is to sign early and join the Ducks for postseason practices. Any take on that? He's, of course, referring to Elijah Rushing, the 4/5-star defensive end from Salpointe, who flipped his commitment from Arizona to Oregon. I saw that, too. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Signing day is the 20th of December. Oregon plays in a bowl game on January 1st. Their semester starts on January 8th. So how exactly would this work? And why would Oregon start putting freshmen into their practices for the bowl game? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Oregon's all set.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't really put much stock into that. And maybe he's there hanging around. He's learning. They show him the plays or whatever, but I don't recall a freshman signing and practicing with a team leading up to a bowl game. Have you ever heard of that?
No, never.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think there's much to that.
No. Okay, moving on to some other mailbag questions. This one comes in from Logan Davis. Is the U of A football staff viewing this offseason as the most important season in UAFB history? The opportunity to establish itself as a top Big 12 football team would put UAFB in the playoff conversation annually. Massive opportunity in 2024. You are right on that. Very massive opportunity in 2024. But I don't think Jed and the coaching staff necessarily view the offseason as an important offseason. I think they view this bowl game as a very important opportunity, because if you beat Oklahoma, a brand name that's going to the SEC, I get it, they're shorthanded. But if you beat a team of that stature, a team that's had so much success, has won national championships, has produced Heisman Trophy winners in San Antonio, right in the center of Big 12 country, and then you finish, I mean, you're the number 14 team in the country, you finish with a 10-3 record, you return all these guys coming back, and with the CFP extending to 12 teams, people are going to look at Arizona as, man, this is legitimately a top 10 team. We got to put them in the early CFP conversation going into 2024. So I more so view this bowl game as a big opportunity for Arizona as opposed to the offseason.
It's the springboard for the offseason, to be sure. I think this will be the most watched Arizona football game of the season, right? As much as we want to make fun of bowl season and so forth, this is a pretty prestigious bowl game. It's on ESPN. I know that the U of A ASU game was on ESPN as well, but that was going up against a lot of competition. There will not be a lot of competition for eyeballs for this game. So this is a chance to show the nation what the program is all about. I don't think the coaches sit around thinking to themselves, this is the most important offseason in program history. But I do think that Jed Fish realizes that he is on the cusp of doing something great. He was talking about that 2022 class, saying that they should they'll do a 30 for 30 on them, that they'll go down as legends, etc. I mean, that's probably an overstatement. Then again, who knows? Maybe they'll make the playoff and make it all the way to the national championship next year, and those guys will lead the way, and someone will do a documentary on them. But it is a great opportunity, I think, for them to establish themselves as one of the upper echelon teams in a new conference.
All right, so I'm kind of lumping all these together.
Okay.
They're asking about the transfer portal. People are asking about potential transfer portal additions, guys that they have added. They recently added Jordan Shaw, a cornerback from Indiana. He's originally from Southern California, was committed to Colorado under when Armon Hawkins was working on their staff. He's the assistant director of recruiting operations here at Arizona. And so he's got a connection with Jordan Shaw. And Jed, at the start of, I guess, the bowl practice or bowl preparation, said that when they're approaching the transfer portal, they're going to look at guys that they have prior connections with. And they're going to be very picky about who they bring in. And Jordan Shaw is a young guy. He only played 1 year at Indiana. And I think maybe the plan for him is that they're going to allow him to come in, learn under Ephesians Prysock and Takario Davis, and be a part of their dollar package as well. And then when those guys leave, maybe they both enter the NFL draft, then Jordan Shaw could step in. And then they also added a big boy from UC Davis, Chuba Ma'ai, and he's listed on UC Davis's roster at 6'2", 347, but he corrected me on the radio show earlier in the week, and he said, no, I'm actually 370 pounds. But the coaching staff, they want him to get down to about 340 pounds. So he's got a little bit of weight to lose, but Arizona's going to be losing a couple of defensive tackles in that rotation. So adding that to the puzzle definitely bolsters that. What do you think about the transfer portal additions, Lev?
Yeah, well, first of all, they're probably not done. I'm sure they're going to bring in more than two. I think Jordan Shaw has a chance to be the sixth defensive back, which is not a bad spot. It's the sixth man, if you will. They expect to return all of their starters, but guys get hurt.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, they also have this dollar package where two more DBs go on the field. They need a replacement for Martell Irby,
Yeah.
So maybe he could be that guy. I don't know exactly what position he's going to play, but I think it's a good pickup. And then Chuba Ma'ai is exactly what they needed.
Yeah.
That was my thought all along, was that the greatest area of need in the portal was the defensive line, where they stand to lose several guys. Big body like this who can come in and play 20 to 25 snaps a game, can stuff the run, free up the linebackers. He's going to need to get in better shape.
Yeah.
But we've seen with this strength staff that they have that they've been able to transform some guys' bodies in a positive way. So look for that to be one of the kind of off-season themes for him.
And I think if they are able to hit a home run in a transfer portal, it's bringing in Oregon State linebacker Easton Mascarenas-Arnold.
It would be. I'm just not super optimistic about it. It just doesn't seem like it's trending in that direction. There's some schools with some deep pockets that seem to be interested in those.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, interested in those Oregon State guys. So, man, that would have been perfect to bring him in and play him alongside of Jacob Manu. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about two first-team All Pac-12 backers on the same squad.
The two leading tacklers in the pack.
Yeah, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's always, hey, there are more players than there are spots.
Yep.
And they're very selective, and they've shown a good record for evaluating talent.
Yep.
So
San Diego State tackle Drew Azopardi too also has an offer from Arizona, so they're going after a handful of guys. Okay, we'll answer more mailbag questions during our next podcast. There's some evergreen ones that we can hold off until next week, unless you want to answer any more.
No.
All right, now time for everyone's favorite segment.
Oh, man, the last time, folks. Enjoy it. So let's update the season standings here. Our colleague, Brett Farah, who gave us his picks for the bowl games. He's not on the pod, obviously, if you've been listening to this point. He is in first place in both straight up and against the spread picks. 62-16 straight up, 43-34-1. He was the only person among the three of us who actually picked Washington to win in the Pac-12 championship game. We both had Washington to cover in that game. That brought your against the spread record to 42-35-1. So you're one game back.
Okay.
You are 56-22 straight up. And I am 40-37-1 against the spread. 3 games back. 61-17 straight up. 1 game behind Brett. And now we get to the bowl games. There is a lot of uncertainty surrounding rosters, etc. In a lot of these bowl games, we will go in chronological order, though we will skip the Arizona and Oklahoma game. We'll put that one last. Start with UCLA against Boise State. This is the LA Bowl presented by Gronk, right?
Yep.
This is 5:30 p.m. Arizona time this Saturday, December 16th on ABC. UCLA is favored by 4 points over Boise State. Brett is taking Boise State to win outright. I am as well. It's not been a great offseason for UCLA.
No.
Lost a lot of coaches, lost a lot of players, not liking the vibe. Boise State's on the upswing. They promoted their interim coach to head coach. I think this game is meaningful for them. Hey, Mountain West can beat the Pac-12 in a head-to-head battle, so I'm also taking Boise.
Danton Lin, one of those coaches, taking over at USC.
Yep.
Great defensive mind. That UCLA defense was unbelievable this year. Great edge rushers, but like you said, Lev, players, coaches, it seems like UCLA is very just dejected right now. They're on to 2024. They're like, give us the Big Ten. We're ready for next year. And I think there might be more Boise State fans there than UCLA fans.
So
in the LA Bowl.
I heard on the Canzano and Wilner podcast today, John Wilner said that SoFi Stadium is closer to the UCLA campus than the Rose Bowl. But they both kind of predicted that there might be more Boise State fans in the house, which would just be kind of embarrassing.
Sad.
For UCLA, honestly. So you're taking Boise?
I'm taking Boise State to win.
All right. Moving on to the Independence Bowl. This is same day on December 16th. This is Cal against Texas Tech on ESPN, 7:15 p.m. kickoff. Texas Tech is favored by 3 in this game. Both teams are 6-6. Brett is taking Cal to win outright, and I am as well. I like how they finished the season. I've always been a believer in Justin Wilcox. Seems like they kind of got their quarterback situation straightened out. As far as I know, Jaden Ott is going to play in the game.
Yep.
He's a stud. Texas Tech, kind of a disappointing season for them this year. There were people who thought of them as kind of a fringe top 25 or maybe legit top 25 team that ended their season with a 57-7 loss to Texas. Only going 6-6 is not what people expected out of them. So I am also going to take Cal, riding the momentum that they have.
Well, and you look at also their wins in the second half of the season. We're talking about 1 touchdown win against TCU, field goal win at Kansas, 1-point win against UCF, and then they lost by 50 to Texas. So they were squeaking by with these wins, and then they got smoked, and they finished 6-6. So to me, this just isn't a bowl team. And with that being said, a meaningful bowl game for the Cal Golden Bears as they get ready to leave the Pac-12 and join the ACC, which is very weird to say.
All right, so the next game is on Saturday, December 23rd. It is Utah against Northwestern in the Las Vegas Bowl.
Lev will be there.
I will not be there. But I do have a story about the last time that Utah faced Northwestern in a bowl game, which was 2018, the Holiday Bowl. Drove out there with my family.
Oh,
so
nice.
The night before the game, I was checking my phone, checking the weather, and saw that it was going to be raining in San Diego. I let out an blank word that I can't say on the podcast.
Sure. Pretty
loudly for the whole family to hear. Went out to the store that night to find ponchos and stuff, scrambling around because we didn't think it was going to rain. Hell, man, it's San Diego.
Yeah.
Who expects that? So anyway, we get our rain gear, whatever. We knew it was going to be kind of chilly too, so we're bundled up as much as we can. My wife and my younger son left at halftime, which is a brilliant move on their part. My older son, Austin, and I stuck it out, but it was we were freezing.
Yeah.
It was freezing cold. And this is at what was then Qualcomm Stadium, the old stadium. We're like, we got to get hot chocolate. We're just not going to make it through this game. We've got to get hot chocolate.
Yeah.
There was one hot chocolate stand open. It took freaking forever. And we missed pretty much like the bulk of the third quarter, and that's when Northwestern made this huge rally and came back. They scored all the touchdowns were like in the direction of where we were sitting, but weren't sitting while we were waiting for our hot chocolate. So Northwestern ended up winning that game. We missed all the good plays, but we were so thankful when we took the train back and my wife picked us up, and it was New Year's Eve. And we had the countdown she was playing it on her phone in the car, and we went to In-N-Out.
Oh man,
we're sitting in the warm car, eating In-N-Out at like midnight, and that was the best In-N-Out that I think any of us have ever had because of the circumstances. So anyway, there's my little story about Utah Northwestern.
I love that.
Brett is taking Northwestern to win the game outright. I need to differentiate myself from Brett on at least 3 games to have any chance of catching him in the standings. So I'm going to take Utah. It appears that Bryson Barnes is going to play in that game, and having a healthy quarterback makes all the difference for the Utes. They've not finished the season well, but I don't think that Kyle Whittingham's going to stand for that. Yep. So going against my alma mater, taking Utah -7.
I'm taking Utah to win and cover too. Okay. Great story, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
What's your In-N-Out order?
Oh, my standard In-N-Out order is a double patty, no cheese, no onions, add pickle.
Okay.
And we always get the fries well done, and then usually get a root beer as well. So, yeah, now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, me too.
That sounds good.
I haven't had In-N-Out forever. Anyways.
All right, so we have number 15, Louisville, going up against USC. This is the Holiday Bowl, the aforementioned Holiday Bowl. This is Wednesday, December 27th. This game is on Fox. Louisville's favored by 7.5. Brett is taking USC to win outright. I will not be doing that. I'm taking Louisville to win and cover. No Caleb Williams in this game. They don't have their Marshawn Lloyd, I don't think, is playing in this game. Brendan Rice is not playing in this game. Louisville, they struggled big time against Florida State's defense, but now they're going to be playing a team that doesn't really play defense at all. So I think that's going to make a big difference. And Jeff Brom, as we know from the Foster Farms Bowl, he will have tricks up his sleeve for this game. So I'll take the Cardinals to win and cover the 7.5.
Is this the Miller Moss era?
Yeah, which could be one game, but yeah.
No Caleb Williams. A bunch of players are out for USC, as Lev mentioned. Defense still very suspect. Danton Lynn isn't coaching. I mean, he's waiting until the season ends.
Nope.
And so the new staff won't have any influence on this game. With that being said, I'm going with Louisville to win at the Holiday Bowl. At Petco Park.
That's right. Are you taking them to cover too, 7.5?
You know what? I'm going to take USC to cover.
Okay. All right. A lot of these games comes down to who's available, who wants to be there, you know. Speaking of which, who's available and who wants to be there? Wow, this game looked good on paper. Number 19, Oregon State against number 16, Notre Dame in the Sun Bowl. This game is, of course, on CBS on Friday, December 29th at noon. I love that there's still a noon CBS game in the bowl season. It's so great. Notre Dame is favored by 6.5. No Sam Hartman in this game. No DJ Younglele in this game. Aiden Childs just committed to Michigan State while we were podcasting.
Oh, really?
So he's headed there. So it's Gulbranson, the return for the Beavs. Damian Martinez got a DUI, suspended for this game. Half their coaching staff is gone. To Michigan State. None of that adds up to me for the Beavers in this game. I know Notre Dame's going to be without some of their top guys too, but I think their depth and infrastructure, etc., will prove to be the difference. I know that this is probably a disappointing destination for a lot of Notre Dame fans, but I still think they're going to show up and they're going to win and they're going to cover. Brett has the same. He has the Fighting Irish winning and covering.
Everything that you just mentioned, ditto. Retweet it. Notre Dame to win and cover.
All right. So now we're into the New Year's Six. We've got a very strange matchup in the Fiesta Bowl. Liberty is your Group of 5 representative in the New Year's Six this year, undefeated, but also played the weakest schedule in the entire nation among all FBS programs. They are facing number 8 Oregon and Liberty is getting 17.5 points. As we sit here today, it looks like Bo Nix is going to play in this game.
He is.
Right? I mean, so that's all the difference in the world. That's all I need. I'm taking Oregon to win and cover that 17.5. Brett is as well. You're nodding your head over there.
Is Troy Franklin playing too?
Not sure.
Okay.
They have dudes, though.
Oregon's loaded, and when people were talking about would Bo Nix possibly sit out, I'm like, listen, I know Bo Nix could potentially be a first-round pick this year. I know a lot of teams would love to have Bo Nix on their roster. My colleague Ali Farhang, who's on the radio with me every single day, he is interested in Bo Nix possibly quarterbacking his Pittsburgh Steelers. So Bo Nix is an NFL quarterback. He will be on a roster. But this guy's also, he's a college legend. Like, he's
a gamer, man.
He's a gamer. And I think one last game, Fiesta Bowl, he's going to put his stamp on his Oregon legacy. He didn't win the Heisman. He came in third place behind Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix. So I think that he's going to leave his stamp on his legacy at Oregon, win the Fiesta Bowl, and go in as an interesting quarterback in the NFL draft.
So you're taking Oregon.
I'm taking Oregon to win, but man, 17.5 points. That's a lot of points. I'm going to go with Oregon to win and cover.
All right.
By 3 touchdowns.
All right. Yeah, you can see that happening.
I'm not confident, though.
Okay. All right. Last game before we get to the U of A game, which we'll, of course, discuss more in depth as the game approaches. But this is the CFP semifinal. It's the Sugar Bowl. It's number 3 Texas against number 2 Washington. That game is on ESPN. It is on New Year's Day, right? January 1st?
Yeah.
So when we're having these? Yeah,
yep.
Liberty and Oregon also on January 1st, earlier in the day. 6:45 p.m. kickoff for this one. Of course, it's the second game, so they can have the Rose Bowl, when the sun sets.
Oh, nothing like it.
Nothing quite like it. Texas is favored in this game by 4. And Brett is taking Texas to win and cover. I'm taking Washington. They show up for big games. We saw that they could be a physical team against a very physical Oregon squad, beat them twice. I'm riding the momentum. I love Michael Penix. Both of us voted for him for the Heisman Trophy. I love their weapons. I think they're going to be pretty healthy for this game. Did you see, by the way, there was a report yesterday that Rome Odunze, suffered a broken rib and a punctured lung, recovering the onside kick against Arizona. Drove home, with his family drove him home or whatever, and then he played the next week.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Talk about a story that will enhance your NFL draft stock a little bit.
This guy had a punctured lung, and his family drove him 23 hours. They took turns driving him back to Seattle.
He didn't miss a game. He did not miss a game. Anyway, I love this UW team.
Yeah,
I love watching them. I think they're super fun, and I think they're clutch. And I'm getting 4 points. I'll take that all day. I'll take UW to win outright, and I'll gladly take the 4.
In years that Washington has made the CFP, they didn't show up. But Alabama isn't on the other side. They're not playing against an absolute juggernaut right now. Texas is playing good football. But again, they're no Alabama. They're no dynasty. So Washington's got a really good chance to win this game. And like you said, Lev, they
win the whole thing.
They got a really good opportunity to win a national championship. And this receiving core is as good as it gets in college football. The camaraderie, you could definitely tell there's something there with Kalen DeBoer's team. I'm going with Washington and Michael Penix to put up insane numbers against Texas and get it done.
That's going to be a fun game. It's going to be 45 to 41 or
Chiefs-Rams,
something of that nature. All right. Last but not least, we have the Alamo Bowl featuring number 14 Arizona and number 12 Oklahoma. This game is on ESPN. It is on December 28th, 7:15 p.m. kickoff here.
Yeah.
8:15 for those of you, including Justin, who are going to be in San Antonio. Arizona is a 3-point favorite. Let's not spend too much time analyzing this because we're going to do more of that coming up on a future podcast. Brett has the U of A winning and covering. I also have U of A winning and covering. They have been money against the spread all year long, and I don't see that changing.
Only 2 losses this year against the spread, and they were wins, Colorado and Stanford. So Arizona's been great against the spread. Also, what I think is going to happen is Oklahoma is going to set the tone. Jackson Arnold's going to put together this impressive drive, and then Mr. Johnny Nansen is going to figure it out almost like a defensive boxer, figure out what his opponent is
Wouldn't be
good
the
at.
first time.
And he's been like that all year long. Oklahoma's going to feel good about themselves, and then I think Arizona's going to go in for the kill, and they're going to dominate Oklahoma for the most part because they're going to be shorthanded. I know Oklahoma has dudes. They always do. But this year's Arizona team is just different. All their guys are going to be healthy, and this is going to set up Arizona for the Big 12 next year. And Jet Fish said the team that wins the bowl game is the one that takes it the most serious, the team that treats it like a championship game. Jet Fish is all about not making this about a celebration of the season. You could celebrate when you're done because then you could look back and say, man, we went 10-3 and we won a bowl game. This bowl game is very important for the team. And with that being said, Arizona is going to be locked in, and I got them beating the Oklahoma Sooners.
It's very important for Arizona to get that 10th win.
Yep.
For only the third time in program history. I mean, that's like every year for Oklahoma.
Yep.
So this is a big deal.
Big deal.
Big deal for them. And I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it.
It'll be fun, man. Okay. We'll be back at some point later on. We appreciate you guys for listening. We appreciate those who submitted your Twitter/X mailbag questions. We'll answer more of those during our next podcast. Subscribe, rate, and comment the Wildcast podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And also for all coverage of Arizona football, Arizona basketball, both programs, and all things Southern Arizona sports, go to Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app.